Hey,
Yo,
what's up,
yo.
girl Sarah?
Eric,
What's going on, Eric? How are you
no,
doing?
oh my God. I just had a crazy sugar filled dinner last night and a crazy quick
Awesome.
weekend for my daughter's homecoming in Florida. And so I just kind of, and then my son, he's intense. So I just kind of feel like brainwashed right now. I feel like I'm going to start talking about Roblox and like video games because he's 11. But how you doing?
Let me tell you how I'm doing. So I've been getting a lot of hate. And by the way, I know we only have about like 30 something subscribers, but it's a lot of hate considering, how many subscribers that we have. Um, we posted the Andrew Schulz video
Dick.
on
He's a
Friday or
dick.
Saturday. And um by the way, like keep language PG for monetization stuff. Like imagine you're on the Disney Channel. So like D instead of, like that kind of stuff. All right.
Okay, he's a little mermaid.
Exactly. Just like that. Okay. So we posted the video after Andrew Schulz made yet again disparaging comments about Black women under the guise of comedy. Not comedy, you're not funny. And I'll say that again. Um, and we posted the video where discussed, his style of comedy and et cetera, et cetera. And we're gonna link the video at the end of this video, and also put in the description, so you can tune in to that also. But essentially, all weekend I've been getting so much hate from various people. I'll read some of the comments. Let me share the screen, and I'll just go on the page, and I'll show you guys some of the comments. Let's see here. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's one of the videos. Andrew Schulz is a bully. It's the same. All right, so some of the comments here, oh, the Boohoo crew. Andrew is so funny, just like instigating. Shout out to Andrew. Don't watch him if you don't like him instead of bitching and complaining. Who the F puts an apostrophe in the name Sarah? My name is not Sarah, it's Sarah. That's why we have an apostrophe. Nobody cares what you're crying about. Wow, wow. 32 subscribers. Go figure. And this is like majority of the comments, right?
Mm-hmm. How do you know they're directed at you
Uh,
and not both of us? I mean, I
well,
know the Syrah comment is
because
obvious.
because it's directed, it says you. It's like, who are you? And come on, it's directed at me, obviously, obviously. Um,
What's the worst one? Did anybody call you like a hoe? Because
no,
then
but
I'm.
like king and like like I was called a narcissist and like all these other all these things, right? Um, I mean, I'm not gonna like gaslight myself and say that that it wasn't directed at me, because it's after I actually engaged with some of these trolls on our page.
Uh, mm-hmm.
Um, and it was clear that it was directed at me, because we did have some like back and forth, and I deleted some of them, but it was directed at me. And um I mean, maybe like there was one that was like, oh, boohoo crew. And so then that was directed at both of us, I'm sure.
I got boohooed.
Obviously, this topic also is like personal to me, because as a Black woman, I felt attacked by the words of Andrew Schulz, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, but what I would like to say is that I just find it so ironic that we do a show talking about Andrew Schulz, bullying and his treatment of Black women, calling it comedy, and then his fans, a bunch of fans, come on the page and attack me, a Black woman. And this tells me that, okay, at least a portion of his fans are then also bullies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I have a problem with Andrew Schulz's comedy sometimes, because just besides the fact that I don't find him funny, which is also my personal opinion. I'm allowed to have that opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Comedy is subjective. There are other comedians that make Black jokes hilarious. We've talked about it on the other show. Bill Burr, hilarious. All
Master. He's a master. He's amazing.
hilarious, hilarious, right? So it's not about him making Black jokes. It's just him being obnoxious, right?
Well, he laughs at his own jokes too. Like, listen, I want hate. Okay, I want hate. That guy, I'm not. I'm going to use Disney language. He is a big whale hanging between someone's legs. Sorry. I mean, I just don't like the guy. He laughs at his own jokes. He's got the John Aston from the Addams Family mustache. It's like, dude, like what? Like, are you in the Civil War or something? What is that mustache? And
someone commented and said it's actually a Freddie Mercury mustache.
It's not a Freddie Mercury's mustache is so much bigger and thicker. And like as Bill Burr said, he said he was talking about having to grow a mustache, and he was upset that gay men weren't looking at him during Pride Month. He's like, I can't even get. He's like, here I am walking down Fifth Avenue with a ginger Freddie Mercury dick broom on my.
Well, let me say this, okay, Eric.
So it's not, but he's not even good. Freddie Mercury's the man. That guy doesn't have a Freddie Mercury mustache. That's like a creepy. Like he should be smoking a cigarette through like a long cigarette. Andrew Schulz is gross. Can that guy even get laid?
Okay, wait. This is a perfect example, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just called him gross. I don't even say these things about him, right? Why am I getting all the hate and not you? I mean, I don't want you to get hate, but I'm just saying.
I want the hate. Bring it on.
Wait, is it because you're white? Is it because you're male? I'm actually asking this question because I'm sure there will be more trolls on this video again. And I'm actually posing this question. Why are you directing all the hate at me and not Andrew Schulz? I'm a Black woman who defended myself after hearing disparaging remarks about Black women. But I get all the hate. And you know what I'm saying?
Well, listen. First of all, you can call the video. Eric called Andrew Schulz a D ... No hate? Question mark. Like, get him to hate me. What are they going to say to me that I don't know already? You know what I mean?
My point isn't about the hate. My point is that Black women, for some reason, people feel that they can walk all over them, make these remarks, and call it comedy, and no one is there to protect them. No one is there to stand up for them. But you, as a white male, you don't even have to do anything. You're automatically protected because no one's just gonna come for you like that. Do you see what I'm saying?
But I think they're attacking you because you're beautiful. I guarantee you, the women in particular, or look, there are men who are sitting in some creepy basement right now, sweaty, and who knows what the rest of their browser looks like, right? And they're creepy, and they're like looking at you, and they can't ever have a woman at your level, your beauty, any of that. And they're just, so they want to hate you for whatever reason because you're beautiful, you're tall, you're Black, you're like the international woman. You know what I mean? And these guys are like, I can't have that. I can't touch that. You know what I mean? So they're probably like literally like lashing out at you for some like creepy jealousy or something. I think that I actually feel bad that I'm not getting hate because it means I'm not significant.
So basically what you're saying is that these mother effers don't have girlfriends. So they came on the page to hate because really I promise you none of these people that are in the comments have a girlfriend. Because if they did, they wouldn't be here, hating on a woman, I think. But also another thing, I did a little bit of research, and I guess Andrew Schulz, a few years ago, before he found his new wife or whatever, he was dumped by a Black girl.
Ah.
So I think, and I allegedly, I think she accused him of some abusive stuff, like that he would brush his like shoes with her toothbrush. He would rub her makeup off in public if like she wore too much makeup, according to him.
He's not just a racist, he's a misogynist. He just sounds like a total creep.
Allegedly. There's a little video clip here. And this is not like a hate on Andrew Schulz hate train, but I'm just trying to understand, like, what is this obsession with Black women? What is this obsession?
It sounds like he's been dumped. I mean, I think you hit it on the head. And look, he's not even worth hating, but the only thing I know about him, and I have friends, I have friends who are friendly with him, right?
Yeah.
And, they may disagree with me and they may say, hey, he's a great guy, but he laughs at his own jokes. He's almost like trying to signal what the punchline is. Bill Burr doesn't do that. Bill Burr says something, looks away, and you're in pain doubled over. Shane Gillis is brilliant. What did Shane say about this? Did you say he said something about this?
Yeah, he didn't say anything about this specifically, or I don't know, but a while back, he did face some backlash because just like Andrew Schulz, handled the Black women topic,
Mm-hmm.
he kind of did something similar with people with Down syndrome, and Shane
Oh,
not
and
having it.
so
So
Andrew Schultz was attacking people with Down syndrome.
basically, he was
Hey,
like making jokes. It wasn't funny. He was just like, ha ha, like, what's
you
the
you
joke?
you you talk
What's
about and this isn't a pun. You talk about punching down. You,
Yeah, and then
you
he made a joke about that too. He was like, "Ha, punching down, get it?"
oh
Like,
yeah, but I mean yeah, and I'm not even saying it like that. I mean like to be funny with a pun. That's like horrible.
well, let's look at the clip actually with Shane Gillis.
Okay, I love Shane.
I think he's so funny too. He's not like my favorite person, like as a podcast guest, because he's like maybe like he's very like laid back. But I like his character. I love his stand up. Like his stand up is top.
Stand ups.
See Andrew Schultz, that's funny. Shane Gillis, that's funny. Okay, hold on.
Cool. I'm with you. I'm
All
here.
right,
We're rolling.
Shaney. All right, let's check it out. Shane Gillis.
A look at comedian Shane Gillis complete. Here's Shane Gillis speaking up to Andrew Schultz.
Shane actually has been working out, dude.
Let's see it. Hold on.
That's crazy.
Oh my god.
Oh, you look good. Is this from West Point?
That actually is.
Oh, nice.
You guys, and you know what?
That's his rival's profile picture.
Shane, can we click the video? I just want to hear the sound. I just want to hear the sound.
It's a Sue. It's
Sue. Yeah.
Nah, you look great, dog. Congrats.
I don't think that's funny.
But yeah, I see that. I see why.
Like you don't get it, you mean?
Yeah.
But that's not me, so
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I don't get the joke. What are you saying?
Yeah. It's okay, dude.
Are you doing moves?
It's you doing dance moves.
Are
and
you
all
trying to
that
find a guy with Down syndrome doing TikTok? Is that what you're trying to do?
I didn't
Search it.
say that at all. I said search it. Search it.
It is going to be good.
GillianCubes.tv, dude.
There's gonna be a lot. There's gonna be a lot to go through here.
Down syndrome dudes love TikTok.
No, my guy's nice.
By the way,
Yeah. That's wow.
these guys are awesome.
Yeah.
They're having fun.
Yeah.
For you guys to sit here and be like,
Wait a minute.
let's bring it up and mock them. That's fucked up, dude. That's
We're
a
mocking
dude.
you. We're mocking
by
you. Yeah,
by
yeah.
using them as an insult.
Use it.
Yeah.
We're using you.
So you're insulting them by saying I look like them, or
We're
you're insulting me
you.
by saying I look like
This
them.
is you back in your victim thing.
No, I'm not being a victim. I'm saying the jokes you're doing is not. It's not like
It's not PC.
that's not cool.
You know what's really
It's
great?
triggering.
You're making fun of these guys, these Down syndrome dudes,
Yeah.
putting out TikTok videos.
Dude, like, wow, man, he was for real. Like, what a dick that guy. And he was so stupid. Okay, look, hate on me. And by the way, it's the funny thing is, like, you know what I mean? Like these knuckleheads who are criticizing, oh, you have 30 followers. First of all, we've been doing this for a week. I mean, look, we've also both played stadiums and been on like national. So it's like, so I get annoyed with those little people because we're both successful people. But, and I hate that I even just said that, but hate on me. Andrew Schultz is so stupid. He didn't even understand the ramifications of using Down syndrome people to insult Shane Gillis. He didn't even seem to understand how that's an insult to the Down syndrome people. He didn't even get the math of, well, if they're an insult to me, you're clearly insulting them. How stupid is that guy? He's so like that guy doesn't get laid, by the way. He probably like stands in the mirror and like waxes his mustache.
Oh, he's married and he has a kid.
He probably still doesn't get laid. It's a sperm. It's a donor. Sorry. I hate him now. I hate that guy.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't have any ill will, but I will against anyone, including Andrew Schultz. Like, again, if he comes out with a funny special, I will acknowledge, like, that was a funny special. But when it comes to certain things, such as these, like, awful, hateful remarks that he makes about people that aren't funny, I'm going to call it out. And like, I'm sure, I mean, as we've seen, there's plenty of people that just kind of jump on the bandwagon that don't think for themselves. Or maybe they do, and they do find it funny. But I'm just saying, like, let me have my opinion. Let Eric have his opinion, and you can have your opinion. You can find him funny and be on his page and listen to his podcast. But you're not going to come on, you know, like my channel and, you know, make me feel bad for defending Black women as a Black woman. Like, what is that? That's insane to me.
It's insane. And tell them why. Okay, so I'm going to just call them out. Everybody who's hating on Sarah, hate on me, all right? I'm not a protected class.
White man.
I'm a white man, and Sarah is actually funny all the time, and Shane Gillis is funny all the time, and you can see clearly he wasn't even like offended. You can see in his face, like, you're just not funny, dude. You're not nice. You're not funny. You're creepy. And Shane Gillis tells jokes about people with Down syndrome, and you love them more when he's done with the jokes. Like when he does the whole thing about him coaching the special, because he coaches special needs kids. He basketball coaches them, and he's like, and look at me. I look a little bit like them because it's in my family. He's like, so, you know, the other coach is like, is he a double agent? It's so funny how he makes them his boys. And they were making fun of these kids on TikTok, enjoying their lives. Like, what kind of psychopath does that?
Yeah. And you know what? I'm just also just like fed up with everyone that enables it. I mean, it's kind of like, it's similar to what happened with Shits and Gigs the other week, or actually that clip from Shits and Gigs, I'm learning it was from a while ago, but it was just recently resurfaced. Either way, that I noticed that people around Andrew Schulz, when he gets going on these tangents, they just kind of like laugh and play along because I'm pretty sure, because he's like kind of like, he's a popular guy, and I'm sure they're intimidated. So when he like jokes and is making all this, you know, like clowning and, you know, with the boys or whatever, I think a lot of people just kind of like go along, even though like their moral compass doesn't really like agree with it. And that's what the Shits and Gigs guys were saying, that they were kind of like in fight or flight mode. So just kind of played along with it. Yep. And I'm just like really, and I don't know, I think it's also because Andrew Schulz is popular. Again, I don't think he's likable the way we talked about, but for some reason, actually, I don't know. I think he's liked by bullies. That's my take on it. If you're an Andrew Schulz fan, like a hardcore fan, you're probably a bully yourself, or you have been bullied. So you kind of like, you know, feel empowered by being sort of like feeling that connection to Andrew Schulz, where he's kind of like going at people that you wish that you could have gone after. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, let's attack this Black woman because maybe this, you know, a Black woman 10 years ago, you know, didn't give me time of day. I don't know.
But I mean, again, he's clearly got some hostility. You know, I'm not even gonna give this guy the satisfaction of pulling up Freddie Mercury's mustache is so much cooler than his. He's from the Upper East Side. He's just like a spoiled New York brat. He's gross. He's just not. I mean, I like grit. You know, I like people. I like Dave Chappelle. When I hear his story, like his personal stories, I'm like, wow, I can identify. This guy just doesn't. Why does Charlemagne the God like this guy?
I'm not sure. I mean, we've talked about this before, but I don't know. Like, just when I look at the dynamic between them, I think even Charlemagne the God looks annoyed by Andrew Schulz sometimes. But I think it's kind of hard not to sort of like support Andrew Schulz, or like pretend to support him at least, if you're in the comedy community, because he is doing so well. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't really know.
But is he big? Like, I mean, Shane Gillis is coming up. Right, Shane Gillis hosted Saturday Night Live after getting thrown off the show before he ever started, and then I think he's doing like the Bud Light ads now to kind of help. So they're asking Shane Gillis to help regular dudes get back to Bud Light after the Dylan Mulvaney thing. You know, that's power. I mean, when corporations like Budweiser come to you for help, like Shane Gillis is like massive. Bill Burr may be the biggest. I think what's his name? Kevin Hart is the highest paid. Nobody needs this guy.
I think the thing with Andrew Schulz is, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard anyone be like, oh man, like Andrew Schulz is in my top 5 or 10 or anything like that. So I don't think people like him for comedy. I think he's just kind of placed himself in that like bro category where it's like he's everyone's buddy. Like, what did you call them the other day? Like did you call them the riot, like alt comedians or something like that?
I didn't call them alt-right comedians.
Okay. Is that what you call them? I don't know. I think
there's look, there's definitely like an alt-right, right of center. I mean, most comedy I think is kind of alt. I don't think you can be funny if you're not a little alt-right.
Right, but I think but there's like this okay, I'm not gonna say group of comedians. There's so many comedians out there, people that we know and don't know, obviously. But I feel like Andrew Schulz kind of has this position. There are these guys. They all kind of go on each other's podcasts, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they go to Rogan. It's Theo Vaughn. It's Shane Gillis. It's like Pom Segura. It's like, you know, they all, even Robert Kelly. I think. Like, I mean, there's like a group.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He does all of it.
So there's like a group of comedians, and they all kind of go on each other's podcasts, support each other, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bill Burr is kind of in that mix, but he's also not in that mix because he's like a more elite comedian, so to speak. So like when Bill Burr goes on, he's not just a guest; he's like a star.
He's like
guest.
the guy,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like having Chappelle on or something like that, and they do acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But I just feel like in this kind of like circle of comedians, and I don't know what that circle actually looks like, but it's just the impression that you get as a viewer that these are all kind of like buddies, you know what I mean? And I feel like Andrew Schulz is kind of in that like circle, and I feel like that's why he's protected a little bit. And that's why I said it kind of started with Joe Rogan, because he got that seal of stamp of approval.
So I was out to dinner with Robert Kelly and his son and my son, and he said, Eric, I'm doing the Patrice O'Neal benefit, right? So I get tickets to the Patrice O'Neal benefit. I get there. I'm like, dude, where are you? He's like, oh, Jerry Seinfeld took my place. Not Jerry Seinfeld. Jon Stewart took my place in Aruba or something. He totally forgot, right? And then after that, they all went back to the Comedy Cellar, which is owned by Noam Dorman. So so many guys came up out of there in New York, and they were all hanging out. And then there was this controversial video that the guy from Opie and Anthony, I think Anthony, whatever his name is, couldn't get in because he insulted Bill Burr, made some comment about Bill Burr's wife. Bill Burr was the king. So because Bill Burr was like, I'm annoyed with him, he couldn't get into the club. And it was like Amy Schumer, and it was just like all the comedians who did it that night, Jim Norton. So Bill Burr is king. So I wonder what he thinks with an African-American wife. I'm actually curious to know if he may be too big to comment on it, but I would love for him to be like, yeah, you're butt. I would love for him to tell Andrew Schulz.
I don't know where I got that from, and I will do research to find out for next time. But I read somewhere that Bill Burr doesn't really like F with Andrew Schulz and his friends like that. But I don't know. I just like read it somewhere. Maybe I saw something, a clip, whatever. I'll find it. But again, I can't say that. I don't really know.
You're saying he doesn't F with it, meaning he just doesn't give them the time of day, or he doesn't.
Kind of. I think like he kind of acknowledges that these are just, like kind of like lowbrow comedy.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. So that's why I don't understand why Andrew Schulz gets all this. Now, look, Robert Kelly is not a huge comedian, but he's big. He's well respected. Everyone loves him, and he does the Rogan podcast. So I can understand a guy like, and Robert really is just like a really nice guy. I mean, the truth is, his comedy I love, and I love hanging out with celebrities just because it's fun. But he's just a really nice man, Mm-hmm. So I can see him not wanting to get into the fray, but I would love to see somebody like Bill Burr or Dave Chappelle. If Dave Chappelle decides you suck, Andrew Schulz, it's over.
Well, he did say actually, Dave Chappelle was on Joe Rogan's podcast probably like a few years ago. I think this was like shortly after COVID, and Rogan was telling Dave Chappelle about Andrew Schulz's style of comedy, basically what he was doing during the Corona epidemic. Because Andrew Schulz was doing these like, what would you call it? Like 10, 15-minute videos, like with a lot of clips and like
montage kind of
like quick punchlines, whatever, talk about the news, what was going on and whatever. So basically Rogan was saying that he kind of adjusted to what was going on with COVID because, you couldn't go out and do stand-up, et cetera, et cetera. And Dave Chappelle essentially said that he doesn't really respect that as comedy. He doesn't view that as comedy. That's kind of like internet shenanigans, right?
Ooh.
So, right. And I kind of agree that I feel like that's what Andrew Schulz is. I feel like he's not like to me, like a real stand-up comedian. Like, I feel like he's more like a internet shenanigans. Well, his podcast is called Flagrant. It's like, it's flagrant stuff, right?
Right.
And there's definitely like room for that, right? But
Mhm.
you have a podcast called, Flagrant, where you talk about people, and this actually goes out to his fans. Like, your daddy, Andrew Schulz, he has a podcast called Flagrant, right? Where he talks about people every episode. He says good things, he says bad things, but I mean, you saw the Shane Gillis clip. Like, that's essentially what he does on that show, right?
Right.
But you have a problem with me speaking up against what he's, having an opinion when your daddy's doing the same thing as I did, but worse every single day.
Well, I agree, and I also think this, like, when somebody said, if you don't like him, don't watch him. We were watching him to make commentary on his stupidity. I'm not going to sit down and watch that guy's special. I mean, if somebody says, hey, he's got a special, I wet my pants, I may check it out. I'm not going to like blacklist the guy.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is he just doesn't, I wouldn't hang, like, okay, just so you know, okay, so I'm from Long Island, right? I'm a New York City guy, but I spent most of my development years in Long Island. Guys like Andrew Schulz would walk into the locker room and we would pick him up by his tighty whities and hang him on a towel hook and just leave him dangling, screaming for help because he's obnoxious. He's the kind of guy who, I mean, I guarantee you he was bullied as a kid because he's a little wise ass. Or not bullied, but slapped around for being a mouthy kid. And now he feels like he has power. And he doesn't have power because you know what? He's going to say the wrong thing to the wrong black woman who's with the wrong big black or white man and get punched in his face.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna put that clip on this show and say this is called a beating. Ugh, am I hating too much now? Ugh, he irks me.
You're not gonna get any hate. All the hate is coming this way.
I want the hate.
On that note, what do you say we move on to a comedian that we actually really do like, Theo Von?
Yeah.
So Theo Von had what is she? A neuro of some sort. Hold on. I think it was a neuroscientist of some sort. Hold on, let me just look it up real quick.
You had him on the show?
Yeah. And I mean, it's not really relevant for this segment who she is, but in case you guys are interested, her name is Dr. Tara Swart, and she's a neuroscientist and former psychiatric doctor. So he sat down with her, and he was discussing his porn and masturbation habits or addictions, whatever you want to call it, and shares that he hasn't done it in quite a while. And he also talks about like how makes him feel and why he quit those things. I probably have to beep a lot of this portion of the show during editing. But let's take a look at the clip and discuss.
Okay, I'm
right.
here.
All right.
Hey.
Hey. Theo Vani. All right.
Intimacy's kind of like I don't know, for a lot of guys, it got replaced by pornography too. I think really damaged it, especially for me. Once I found pornography, there was a way to have a connection with a woman that was safe enough for me to be in.
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't going to be hurt.
Yeah.
There was some sexual reward to it.
Yeah.
And I could start it and stop it as I wished. And it was the only kind of relationship I could even really handle of when I was in other relationships, but none of them were as long as my relationship with pornography, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And right now I'm I think I'm 77 days off of pornography and 70 days off of masturbation. So I've had, sexual activities, but I haven't, been, touching my wiener or whatever. People that say different stuff, saying I don't know what they say in your country, topping off the
wanking.
Okay. Wanking. Yeah. Thinking of the queen or whatever they say, I don't know what they say. Queen.
Listen, this lady's laughing a little bit too hard for my taste. Anyway, let's continue. Doesn't she know there's already like, someone out there for Theo? Okay, hold on. We're not done. Hold on. I just have to say that.
Go.
I mean, take a book or whatever. That's like a chess move. But yeah. So that's been kind of different, For me, that's been different. But that was a huge thing.
How is it different?
Well, for one, I quit thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't think about pornography. I don't think about like masturbation. I don't have that weird feeling where like I'll masturbate and then I'll just be laying there like I'm still right where I was, but I've like kind of ejaculated or whatever. Because like sometimes like semen, or some people call it what, I don't know what people call it or whatever, like party sauce or whatever. I don't even know what people call it, on the street or whatever. But like I feel like the more I keep it in my body, the more masculine I feel, right? And the more of myself I feel, as opposed to just having a leak of it constantly.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like I almost had a leak of my masculinity. And I would cause the leak, but the leak would happen. And it was just like a dripping pipe. It was like, you look at a dripping pipe, you're like, but you look at a pipe that's not dripping, you're like, hey, this is some pretty good construction.
I like that.
Here.
I love that phrase, leak of my masculinity. So
yeah, that's kind of what it felt like,
yeah.
Now that I really think about it. And then I start to look at women a little bit. I don't think of it just so much in I've always thought of women in more than just a sexual sense, but the sexual part isn't as strong. It's not like, let me just think about sex. It's giving me a little bit more space in myself to be like, well, let me think about who this person is, and do I really want to engage with them? It starts to give a little bit more value to sex for me, and by that happening, intimacy is kind of created because, for one, I have a little more intimacy with myself, right? It's like I respect my intimacy a little bit more. I'm not just masturbating. I'm not just like tossing my intimacy off to some person through a screen or something that doesn't really mean anything to me.
Yeah.
And so I think those are some feelings in my head that start to happen. And I start to feel a little bit more, I don't know if it's integrity, but it is a little bit more sense of intimacy with myself.
That's lovely. So one of the reasons that people resort to things like that, particularly after a breakup, is that the brain circuitry that is to do with unrequited love is relieved by certain activities because they cause the same kind of chemical cocktail. And those activities are things like alcohol, cocaine, pornography.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, it makes sense, right? This is why people
go
will
to
indulge
those
in
things.
those. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously they're addictive. So then it becomes something that you need to do more of to get the same reward.
Right. And that becomes your relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then it's like, well, yeah, of course, other relationships are going to be different because I don't even realize the relationships that I put in front of.
And the other thing is that pornography creates such an unrealistic, idealized version of what a woman should look like and what she should be prepared to do in an intimate relationship, or even not in an intimate relationship, like in a one-night stand or very early in dating. That's very damaging to male and female relationships as well. That, the expectation that you will naturally have if you've been looking at that every day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And to not have it in my brain, and it starts to my imagination starts to start up again. Like that's one thing that's disappeared over the years, I feel like, is our imagination, because we have access at anything you want to see. You want to see two gay guys attack a squirrel or whatever in a marina or whatever. You can, but you can Google it right now and you'll find it. Like anything you want to find out there, you can. It's like we don't need our imagination. We used to have to imagine. Yeah. And so that, like, now my imagination starts to start up again, because I'm not attaching porn to women I meet now, and there, right there, squirrel attacks twink right there. That is, I don't know. And that might have been the rebuttal. Who knows where the first attack started, but yeah, so that's something that's been really neat just on this recently that I've been doing. And really seeing some reward from it. And you know what's so crazy? For years I tried like different like blockers on computers and stuff. And I got started with this kind of recovery coach, and he just said, why don't you text me at night? And he said, tell me something that felt good during your days. Tell me something you felt like maybe you could have done a little bit differently. And they tell me how long you've been off of porn and how long you've been off of masturbation. That's for some reason, that's all it took. And it's just been so easy.
Well, it's accountability.
Maybe that's it. It's like accountability with somebody that I trust, or that I trust. And
that you respect, because you'll feel like you've let them down if you can't send those messages.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's funny. I didn't feel that as much, but I just felt, I was shocked at how easy it started to help me,
So, wow. I mean, I love Theo Von for being courageous. And
she was laughing a little hard, huh?
What was that?
She was laughing a little bit.
Well,
too
I think
hard.
she was probably a little nervous because she has this like clearly masculine American dude.
No, she's like,
no. She was definitely laughing. Yeah, and oh my God, there's so many things that people could call masturbation. Anyway, but I like what Theo said, but she said something that I don't agree with, and she said, sometimes it's unrealistic what you think women should look like. Well, that's assuming that you're doing like voyeur web, which is like, I know guys who are into porn and they're into like tall, like athletic blonde chicks. It's like, oh my God, dude. You talk about no imagination. So there are probably porn things that are more realistic and stuff, because people have all kinds of ideas about what they want to see. But ultimately, when she said, the cocaine and the like, I think that's all true. I just think it's another way. I feel this. Let me get a quick bump of circuitry. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's just like drinking scotch or, overspending, or like all of the things that people have 12-step programs for. It's all the same chemical response when you do those things, if it's your fix. Does that make sense?
It does. And, we've talked about this before, but you and I, we're buddies from a 12-step program. That's how we met. So that's partly also why I can really like connect to, what Theo Von says. And, I have a sponsor right now because I'm a caffeine addict. Well, I've had troubles with caffeine. And so I'm in CAFA, it's Caffeine Addicts Anonymous. And so I have a sponsor that I send a message to every morning. And I say, hey, today I commit to staying sober from caffeine. And today is actually day 30. It's been a month.
How you feeling?
Honestly, I do get cravings sometimes, but for the most part, it's wonderful. I don't have anxiety. I don't have all this fear. I'm not stressed all the time. I have a sense of, and I'm getting so much more work done. Once I got past that like initial hump, it's just really clear to me now that caffeine is like, it doesn't actually give you energy. It gives you like a false sense of energy, because caffeine really just stresses you out. So, when you consume it, you get very agitated and you feel like that you're moving and doing things, and, and to a certain extent you are, but you would have done the same things without having the after effect of caffeine, which then gives you a lot of anxiety after. But I would like to say this. I do agree with the accountability, but I agree with what she said. For me, it's someone that I respect, that I have this contact with every day, so that helps. But specifically, Theo Von said something that really stood out to me, and when he said that he feels like his manhood or mandom or whatever is leaking, I can actually really relate to that, because I've also given up masturbation. It hasn't been quite as long as it's been for Theo. I think he said he was on day 77. For me, it's probably been a week or so. And partly the reason why I stopped is because I felt what he described in that clip. I felt like I was like leaking my womanhood somehow. I felt like, because when you masturbate, you have images in your head, through the process and so on. I almost felt like, I don't know, this is like a spiritual thing, and I don't even know how to describe it, but it almost felt like I was like spiritually opening myself up to like something harmful, because you have these images, and then you like okay, so for instance, like before I used to, like sometimes I used to imagine my ex when I used to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
After, and it's not someone that I wish to be with. It's not someone that I desire, but it was just sort of like, it's the last person I was with. So that's the mental image that I would have when I would masturbate.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't watch porn. I never did. I don't get it. I think for me, it's just kind of gross, but to watch. So I would think of my ex, and when I was done, I would feel this, like, I felt like he had me, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like, because you're simulating the act, you know, and
That's interesting.
your body and your mind and your spirit is kind of going through the motions, even though there's not a physical person there. The imagination alone. So I almost felt like I was still sleeping with him,
Mm-hmm.
and it was making it hard for me to get over him, because I was like, why am I thinking about this person? I don't even like him. I don't even want to be with him.
Right.
And honestly, just in this week that I haven't, you know, engaged, it's just like,
Can I just start laughing like overly excitedly like that woman did? I'm just kidding.
Theo.
They call it a wank. They call it a wank. The
like-
Americans, the baseball players say they belted one over the fence. Anyway, Charlie Good.
I've seen many women on his podcast do that, obviously, because he's that guy. You know what I mean? He's like cute.
Look, that guy. You know, he reminds me a little bit of, and this is a controversial guy. We're not getting too into this, but Mike Tyson has that thing too, where he's so honest about what he's thinking that people just get like freaked out. You know,
Are you comparing Theo Vaughn to Mike Tyson? I don't get it. What?
Mike Tyson's brilliant. I mean, his mind is brilliant.
Like women, I feel like women would be intimidated by Mike Tyson.
Oh no, totally, no, totally. But look, his past. I mean, he was convicted of rape. It's sketchy. I think he was railroaded as a black man. But I mean, not me as a black man. Him as a black man. Me as a black man. I'm just kidding. Oh, can I get on to something really quickly? And I want to do this topic. First of all, I did a whole comedy routine. I have like a 2-minute bit on porn and masturbation, by the way. So I want to pull that up for one of our shows.
By the way, this whole video is not going to be monetized. So, you know, all these things that we're talking about.
Well, I mean, look, Theo Vaughn's monetized. I mean, he's talking about it. I mean, he said, hiding the bishop? What did he say? Polishing the knob? Cooling the queen?
I feel like there are different rules when you kind of get to a certain level in your YouTube, like in order to like get to, whatever. We can talk about that later.
Anyway, so but look, this is the thing. So I have a thing on porn and all these studies on porn. I did a comedy routine about it. It's the opposite of what he's doing. But really quickly for the next thing, I said Barack Obama's not really a black president because his mom was white, and apparently Janet Jackson mistakenly said Kamala Harris isn't white because she thought he had a white dad. And he's black, but when she thought she had a white dad, he's like, but one of them's Indian, so she's not 100% African American. That I can tell you, but whatever. But Janet Jackson thought she had a white dad, and she was like, she's not black. So if Janet Jackson thinks that, maybe I'm onto something with the Barack Obama thing. You know, like, you know, it's just like, is it his evil white half? Is his white privilege who became president? Or is it his, like, you know what I mean? I want like I want a guy with street cred to become president of the United States. Like somebody just like dark skin, 100% African American. Maybe he was like a union negotiator in his earlier life, got in a little trouble roughing people up, like a real guy. I don't want these polished, like, oh, I'm part black. Like, come on. Am I in trouble for this? Shiraz, you're making the blank face like Eric's in trouble.
No, I was just thinking because I mean, there's no answer really. Like, I mean, Kamala, her mom is Indian, her dad is African. I mean, is Jamaican, black. So she's black and Indian.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. People tell me I'm not black. I'm African. So it's like, because I look a certain way, and Kamala Harris, maybe she had a different like phenotype. If she looked more African, then maybe people would find her more acceptable, or, you know, more palatable as an African, or like of African descent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, it goes to what you were just saying, that you want someone that looks physically black. You want a dark skinned man. So I think I think we just kind of associate certain like a certain phenotype, a certain look to what it means to be Black.
No, I know, 100%. Hey, but you're 100%. I have to call Chinton. Speaking of Indians.
All right, let's wrap up.
Cool. And I'll call you after that call.
Subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
Peace out.